This is after Yerushalmi Terumos in the article. Edition right at the top of down Amral. There's a header Hashoita. In the Vilna, there's no header. It's the 10th line above where the lines get wide on Beis Amrav, Simone Shoita. And, of course, Eretz Yisrael, the war is still raging. Learning Yerushalmi should be schus for Eretz Yisrael and Yoshua Eretz Yisrael and everybody who's involved in this war, and all of Am Beis Yisrael. So, Simone Shoita, or Hayotze Belayla, somebody who goes out at night, and that means by himself, without any accompaniment. Obviously, it's going to get. Obviously, it's talking about places where a person doesn't first goes out to shul at night, so that's not an issue. Talking about a person just wanders about or something like that. Valam Beis somebody who goes to sleep in a cemetery. Valkreas somebody who rips his garments wantonly. Vamai Mashinoso, somebody who loses whatever they give him. Amr Rabbeinu said Vushia Kulambo. He has to have all these traits. The locaine. Otherwise, Ani Omer would say Biyotzbal is kintu rukus, which Shaitar says means a sleepwalker. The Shkavanaki means says somebody who's feeling hot and needs to go out and he says knit rufus. Somebody's feeling hot and has to go out and cool himself down. Allah Beis Akfaras, he's a maktir l'shedim. He wants to have a ruach tumah, wants to be involved in sorcery, so he's going out to do some sort of voodoo stuff in the cemetery. Hamakarez Ksuso Sulikus, which the Shaitar says means he's a hot-tempered person. And Habnaki says the same thing. Abamai Mashinosinlo is Kudaikus or Kuraikus. The Kabanoki says he doesn't know what a Kudaikus or a Kuraikus is. Let's see what he says in the notes in the back, though, because there's the notes here. The Aruch says, or says he pretends to be a dog. I guess he acts like a dog, and that's the type of shtus. So he says it's tzarich to say that because the Gemara is saying how we regard him if we're not regarding him as a shaita. Okay, so in any event, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Afilu B'achas Merio says even by any one of them, it's not to be considered a shaita. Rabbi Avun Rabbi said Mistavim Madam Rabbi Yochanan Afilu Achas Mehen. It makes sense, like Rabbi Yochanan says, that even one of them ubilvad b'ma'abe mashinoisin lo. But specifically, the not only one of them, somebody who loses things which are given to him. Why is that? Because afilu shoyte shoytim aim abed, he doesn't loses the right. Probably was one translation for abed. It's like a deliberate destructiveness, a wanton destructiveness. I'm not even sure he has to lose it because destroying it is probably sufficient. Yeah. So only a shaytim shaytim. I feel shaytim shaytim aim abi unless it's really he's really severely affected. Kundikum kurdaikus. This is the Kavanoki takes out kundikum. Seems to be superfluous here. But with kurdaikus, which was famous from the 7th parak in Gittin. Yeah. Ein bo achas mikol elu. He doesn't have any of these traits. Mao kurdaikus. What's a kurdaikus? Amar Abiyesi hamim. The Kavanoki learns that the same as himum, which means shocked. Perhaps it's a person like shell shocked. He says here, Moshe says mehumam umil which is that he is shocked and confused. Asa uvda kamir Rabbi Yossi. A case came from Rabbi Yossi. Bechad tarsui, with a tarsi is a weaver. They would give him simuk is um, threads. Uh, they gave him red threads to put into black threads. Vuloi, and he would do his work. I'm sorry. They gave him. They test. I guess they test him this way. They gave him red threads within black threads. Vuloi, and he would just work at them. Ukum goes samuk vuloi, black threads within red threads, and he would work with them. Amar Adeinus Kudaikus Amar, and they said he's a Kudaikus. Evidently, he knew how to work, so he's not considered to be a shoite, but he's obviously a save shock because he's not paying attention, realizing what's black, what's red, what he's supposed to do with the thread. Okay, that's the Kavanaki's pshat, which I think comes to the Gra. The Bnei Moshe is a totally different pshat. Bnei Moshe says, "Dam yomle simuku akum simuku basar kachush." Lean meat. Bisra sumka, which is red. V'akim hu yaina mazuk b'mayim. It's wine which is what's the word? Diluted with water. V'alshem sheishtanim nishchar mar yain. They because it gets it's even though it's being diluted, it should look less red, but he says it's just changed. They were given the sub sometimes they give one before the other, and the other vice versa. Nevertheless, he was weak, and he was not functioning properly. So the Gra's pshat seems to be much more in line with the fact that he's a Tarsi, because otherwise, why would we tell him there's a Tarsi? So that's I would say with the Kabbalaki Shah name of the Gra is more mistaber. Also, it doesn't really. Bnei Moshe was just saying he wasn't healed, but I'm not saying exactly what the definition of the holy was. I guess I'm not giving you an example of how he was muhumam, what the shock did to him. All right. Anyway, Pamim Shaita Pamim Cholim. Somebody is sometimes not lucid, and sometimes he's lucid. Harei B'Chel Kol Davar. He's a bikach. He's said to be a person who is sane. When he's sane. By the time that he is a shaita, the hareu kishaita chol. I'm sorry. B'shashu shaita hareu kishaita chol dvar. B'shashu cholim hareu kipikech chol dvar. So the Kavanaki changed the gear so it makes it a little more streamlined. It says tani pam shaita pam chalom b'shashu tor shaita hareu kishaita chol dvar. B'shashu chalum hareu kipikech chol dvar. Asu of the commander of Shmuel, a case came in front of Shmuel. Evidently, of a palm, this the case of palmim cholim, shed palm cholim. Karucholim, Amar, he said, Karucholim, he can get. He can give a get when he is actually lucid. Ma Shmuel, over here it says actually Ushmu Kreish Lakish. The way the Kamnaki has the gear, so Uma Shmuel Reish Lakish. What are we saying? Our Shmuel holds like Reish Lakish. The Reish Lakish Amar Shtape when Reish Lakish said in the case in Yerushalmi getting for some type of things, those are Bavli. The other one says even if it was when he's Kodaik, if he gave the command to give the to write a get before he became when he was still lucid, and then he's no longer lucid, we can still write again and give it to his wife. Below garments if he's sleeping. Rishloi says you can only give the get when he is lucid again. But as long as he is still in state of kudaikus, then he's a shoit at that time. So is that the same thing that Shmuel's saying? Says Gemara, no. Ruba the Shmuel Shemelakish. Shmuel is saying even greater Shemelakish. do Omar Karcholim Yiten get uh, the because according to Shmuel, as long as he said uh, as long as he said at the time that he was lucid to give the get, so then we can give the get even when he's not lucid. Plus, Lakish, you can't give the get only at the time when when he's cholim. I wrote in the Basai Gemara, Kain Nira. It seems to me that the Pshat and the Farshim Nilu, the Farshim have great difficulty with this Gemara. So let's uh, let's so so it's a shita. So Rabbi Yochanan says that you can give the get at the time that he is actually a kudaikus, and Rabbi Shlaki says no, you only give the get at the time when he is lucid, and Shmuel seems to say Rabbi Yochanan that he can once he's commanded to give the get, so then you can give the get even when he is not lucid. The Gra evidently says, Baz brings down that his Pshat Gemara is that according to Shimon Lakish, other people can give the get once he commanded it, and Shmuel says only he can give the get. But I'm not sure why. I'm not sure. Perhaps the Gemara at this point does not. I know the Gemara doesn't bring down Rabbi Yochanan. It could say just Ruba, the Shmuel that Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yochanan. That I can't tell you an answer to that question. Why it just doesn't say that. So the Rashba brought down by the Kavanaki says Shmuel says it's kosher if he's somewhat healed from his insanity, even if he still has signs of the sickness. Shimon Lakish holds it's only good if he completely got healed, no more symptoms at all. I like that. I'm not sure I didn't like it the first time when I learned, because it seems pretty glatt. So according to this, Rabbi Yochanan holds you can give it even when he's completely ill. Reish Lakish holds no, only when he's completely healed. And Shmuel's in the middle. He holds that if he's it doesn't make shtafe, that he's completely healed, but even his cholim right now he's lucid. That's sufficient, even if he has symptoms. I like that. Okay. Vatichlimeni vatechayeni. So we're trying to bring down the derivation of what this means. Chalum, and we say chalum is that he was enlivened. Okay, so the way he wants to Kavnaki says it's okay. The way I just interpreted the Tachlimeni Chayeni, it is that Tachlimeni is Chayeni. You made me healed me and made me gave me life. But the way the Kavanaki learns it, which he taught so like the Rashba, he says they're two separate things. There's Tachlimeni and Chayeni, and they're separate. Tachlimeni is a state of Cholim, not Mishtapeh, and therefore that's considered that's one initial stage. Chayeni is a state where he's shafui, and that's a complete healing. Again, it's very nice. I'm not sure why I didn't like that in previous times when I learned this. Okay, so now we're going to Katan. Mantana Katan, who is the author of Mishnah who says a Katan does not make valid truma? It's Lok Rabbi Yehuda. It's like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tani within the Brisa, Katan Shinichu Aviv B'Miksha, a Chacham, a Katan who was left by his father literally in the squash. In other words, he was told to bring him squash to sell. Um, the father gave him squash to sell. A chumaso via torem. No, he was. I guess he was in the. He was the stockpile. The child. He was in the mixer, the place where the squashes were held. By the time he was taking truma, but Avi Mochel Yod, and his father was selling the squash, which is the cotton sent out from the stockpile. Truma is a truma. The cotton's truma is truma. So the Gemara says no, that even our Mishnah Rabbi Yehuda lo hu shetarim. It's not that the cotton is taking truma on his own initiative. El Avi hu shemin yado. This is his father. Literally, imain al yado would mean that he gave him umnus. You know that like Gemara said in Kedushin, Mishnah said in Kedushin, you have to be melamed as bincho umnus, right? So he taught him the craft. But it seems that here it means that his father designated whatever the cotton separated as truma. So the real Chalei Shem Truma was by the father. I wrote on the side of my Gemara. It would seem that this is the father says stipulate ahead of time that whenever my son takes off his Truma, and then with the son takes off Truma, and it takes effect, and that's Brera. Right? It's at the time of the transaction, it's not known what the transaction will take effect, only later on, which is classic case of Brera. But we baskin by the Rabbanon Yesh Brera. Since Truma's man says the Rabbanon, perhaps that's why it works in this case. Again, you would perhaps touch the Gemara way in which Brera is not an issue. Okay. Ba Aviv. So the question is now Ba Aviv V'men al Yodo. This case we're talking about here. Even first case sounds like the father designated ahead of time, and it's a case of Brera. But what happens if it's the other way around? The father comes afterwards, and he says, "Oh, this is truma, whatever you took off." Is it only in the mafreya? Is it in the mafreya nasis truma, and whatever the cotton took off, or is it also omikan lahaba? Let's work from here on in as well. So Rabbi Shammai said, "Nishmini me'adah." Let's learn from here. The time when Reishabo Ba'abayis came and found that the famous case that somebody had taken off truma without his permission. So the Gemara, the Tosefta in Perek Price's Hay said, if there's a concern of gezel, the truma is not truma. If no concern of gezel, the truma is a truma. How do you know if it's a concern of gezel or not? If the Ba'abayis comes and Mutzo Ba'abayis, Mutzo Me'betok Shalom, and he's sees this person having taken off truma, standing in among his produce. Amalei said, "L'kol lecha mina yafim ha'elu." Why don't you take from these which are more higher grade to make truma? So ima yafim and shum gezel. If there were indeed higher grade wasn't the higher grade produce, so we say, "Oh, there's no gezel." He was happy with the truma. He's telling him he could have taken even better. If there is no better, so he's being sarcastic. He say, "Oh, why don't you take the better produce?" And in fact, there isn't a better produce, so therefore it's like a protestation in a sarcastic way. And choshesh shum gezel. V'imaya locate for no saying low, but if the Ba'abayis was gathering and giving to this other person and telling him to take of truma, well, I don't know if he told him, but he has to have told him. So yeah, there's no issue of gezel. So in this case, would you say only came truma whatever he gave till now, and not what the future? In other words, it seems to indicate that he certainly has this nichusa. He's okay with this in the future because he says he tells him to gather and to he says l'kot l'chamin yafim elu. So it seems like he's giving carte blanche even for the future. So v'avhacha mikan haba nasis truma. So here too, even not just the past, it's an authorization for the future. Now, whatever father designated in the past works, but it's also designated for the future, and therefore, like we said in the previous case, even though it might be brera, it's not just the stuff which is already set aside, which now the father comes and says so, but stuff in the future also, which the son takes off, it's pre-designated as truma. That brings us to significantly into Hey Amud Aleph, and to two dots in the art scroll. So we will stop here for today.